What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Super excited for part 2 with TJ Woodward. Dallas is still in Mexico celebrating his 6 years sober. And now that I think about it, by the time this comes out, he will be back in the studio, so that'll be exciting. Listen, if you didn't catch last week's episode, listen to that first. This is part 2. It was a long conversation, so we decided to split it in half. But that being said, we're going to dive right in. Here's part 2 with TJ Woodward.
There's another story that I'll share. You know, as you were telling that story, I was flashing back about 14 years ago. And I know this because my nephew is 17 and he was 3 at the time. So my boyfriend and I at the time were out of town, and we both have nephews around the same age. And so we decided to take them on this adventure to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And we went to dinner ahead of time. And, you know, having lived in San Francisco, it's easy for us to imagine. And one of the stories that we tell each other over and over again is that we live in this really open-minded bubble. Mm-hmm. We can question that story for sure, but for the sake
right.
Let's just say that that's true, right? That's the story. So we're having dinner, and this woman kept staring at us. She just kept staring at us. And my story I went into was that she was being homophobic and that she was glaring at me. And I was noticing myself getting upset, and then I was getting angry, and I was getting disturbed. And why is she doing this? And I was like imploding. Mm-hmm. She stood up and walked toward us, and I just started getting anxious. Like I could feel it. And she said, "I am so sorry. I've been staring, but your family is so beautiful. And I just want to say, you know, your family is so beautiful, and I've really enjoyed watching how you interact with your kids." I had this whole story that wasn't even happening. But the deeper, important part of this is I got to see what was unresolved within me, because I was projecting that onto her when she wasn't even doing that. So my projections are an indicator of where I still need some healing. So obviously, I still needed some healing around some of my trauma of what it was like growing up, being a gay boy, and what that experience was like, and all the shame I took on from the people around me and about myself. So if I could look at that experience and recognize the possibilities that exist within it, I can say, ooh, there's some healing for me to do.
Yeah, and that's an amazing example. And I think one of the things that we touched on, Dal, and in our episode from a couple weeks back, a couple weeks ago, with reframing and projection and the role that plays. Mm-hmm. And before we dive further into projections, there was something at the top of the show tonight that I wanted to kind of look at again, or, you know, that's coming up for me right now. And that is, we are not our thoughts, opinions, stories, right? And that concept, TJ, like you and I had been talking about that for years, I think, before it really clicked with me, before I really understood that the thoughts I have in my head are not me, and they're not necessarily my thoughts. And so maybe on our way to Projectionville, we can kind of make a pit stop at, you know, Egoville and talk about how thoughts aren't us.
How they're different.
Yeah, because that concept is so, or at least for me, in my experience, it was very hard for me to get it. And then once I got it, it's like, oh my God, there's no going back.
Yeah. When did you get it though? Because I feel like I was around you a lot when you started to get it.
You were.
And you were very like shaken.
Yeah, I was shook up.
But like you would say like, I'm so fucked up right now, but in a good way. And
Yeah.
I was like, dude, you got to give me more. You got to give me more about that.
Well, so obviously I'd read Conscious Recovery and Conscious Being. Those are TJ's books, which I highly recommend to the audience. I'll put links in the
show notes.
Yeah. And I'd with TJ, I had been learning a lot spiritually, a lot of spiritual principles. TJ's got a lot of really good friends in the spiritual space that we've been doing shows with, and just having these incredible conversations. And selfishly, I just try and get as much feedback as I can because I'm so fucked up. I'm like, you guys help,
Help this guy.
Yeah. And it really kind of came to a pinnacle when TJ and I were kind of in the peak of our work. And I also was reading Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing reading that book and having someone like TJ who I could be like, dude, what the hell does this mean?
Yeah.
And learning about the ego and what the ego is, and recognizing that these thoughts, this voice in my head is separate. It's a thing to be witnessed. And the witnesser, the observer of those thoughts and that voice is me, but not the voice itself, if that makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
TJ,
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? And so, because I think sometimes it can be difficult if we say things like, I'm not my opinion, question your beliefs, be open to different points of view. But what you're talking about is the deeper, it's the reality. And the reality is I am an essential being that is beyond a point of view, that's beyond an opinion, that's an infinite being, right? And when I understand that is my true nature, and I have thoughts and I have beliefs and I have ideas, but those were for the most part given to me, or they're the ones that I took on, right? And so the human mind wants to go into the debate of good, bad, right, wrong automatically,
right?
So someone listening might be like, well, that's not true.
That's
and
true,
so if I notice that, then I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But what we're really pointing to here is cultivating a relationship with our essential nature. And one of my favorite quotes is from my friend Michael Beckwith. He said, when we develop a relationship with our true nature, we break the agreements we've made with mediocrity.
Wow.
And they're agreements, right? So the Four Agreements was a book that was really popular. And part of what that book lets us know is that we came into the world open, and then, our communities, our schools, our parents, our siblings, and on and on and on, gave us beliefs and ideas, and we took them on and believed that's who we were. That's just our culture. And American culture, it's ramped up even more than other parts of the world, where we believe that we are what we do or what we drive or what we wear. And we certainly believe we are what we think, right? And there's a lot of emphasis put on education. All of that's great. The ego is a wonderful thing, but it's not who we are.
Mm-hmm.
We are the observer, as Jeremy said. We are that place of eternal, infinite beingness. And when we recognize that, we can start to observe all of our points of view, our attitudes, our thoughts. And when we do that, then we can start moving into the quantum field. We can start observing the world through the lens of wholeness, our own wholeness, and then we can start playing with how we want to change that, the experience of what we once called reality.
Yeah. Here we are again. Here we are again. I was going to say, how does one go about that? How does one go about observing the observer? How does one go about being the observer better? Because I feel like I struggle with that, where I have this like ideal where I want to see it more, or like take myself out of my thoughts or my stories or my realities of what I think. And oftentimes I feel left with, if those weren't true, then who would I be type of thing. And I feel like
Right.
a lot of fear comes up from that. Like, well, if that's not true, then I'm like looking for another answer.
Yes.
But the answer doesn't need to be there.
That's right.
So I find myself avoiding it in certain aspects.
Yep.
Like things that I can't exactly put my finger on right now.
Yeah.
But even right now, I'm like, I don't want to tell them what those things are, because maybe like,
And that's
then
ego.
they're untrue. Yeah.
And that's doubt. So I love that. I love that. And I remember I was talking with TJ Woodward and Temple Hayes, and we have the best conversations. And before we got on our Facebook Live, Temple, she's this sweet woman in Florida, just like sweet as apple pie, right?
Sweet as it comes.
And of course, TJ knew that I was all fucked up, right?
Yeah.
And
You wear your emotions on your face, Jeremy.
oh, big time.
Yeah.
And Temple said, "How are you, Jeremy?" And I said, "Well, Temple, I've been hanging out with you guys for too long. I'm reading A New Earth, and I have literally no idea who I am, why I'm here, or what I'm supposed to do." And she said, "Oh my God, honey, congratulations!" And at first I was like, "What the fuck? Like, congratulations! I'm a mess,
Yeah, I'm falling apart.
Yeah, and I still am, or at least that's my ego says that I am. For me, one of the things that really, reading A New Earth really helps. Reading Conscious Recovery and Conscious Being and learning about the essential self, that's a pretty good starting place. Because the words essential self or conscious being or, my essential nature, I got it, but I wasn't really like, I got it, but I didn't get it.
Right.
Right.
That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. And so for me, one of the things that was really helpful is like, I would think about how my relationship with stuff. Okay. So like, for example, I remember when I was very young, we got a dog, right? And when the dog came home, I was so excited to walk my dog, and all the neighbor kids came over because, oh my God, Rebecca and Jeremy got a dog. And I didn't want any of them to play with my dog because it's my dog. And I remember being so protective of it, right? And even when we moved, right, and Mariah would be carrying a box of stuff that goes to the studio, I'm like, no, I'll do that. I'll do that. I got it. Don't worry about it. That's my stuff, right? And but when you think about it, the idea of me and mine is really, really strong with humans, Homo sapiens, but not so much with any other animals in the animal kingdom, right? So it's like if I throw, a ball on the floor, right? My cats will play with it for a little while, but if I pick it up, they're not going to be like, "Hey, that's mine." Right? There may be a little bit, but like it's very fleeting.
It's like short.
It's very fleeting. And in A New Earth, Eckhart Tolle talks about how our consciousness has evolved to the degree of having ego, right? And the next step of our evolution is growing beyond our ego. And so what helps for me is learning more about the ego, reading about how it manifests, how it presents in our lives. And the way I, in my mind, will kind of pull back from that and tap more into the observer is I look at my thoughts like they're up on a drive-in movie screen, right? So it's like when I'm thinking about something and I notice I'm just on these thoughts, I look at it like it's up on the screen and they're happening. I can see them, but I'm the one watching.
Right.
Right? I'm not in it. I'm watching. But unless I really acknowledge that, then it's like I'm in it. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Yeah.
And that it's really hard, but when I'm in it and I'm like, oh, there it is. I see it. I see it happening. The I that sees it is me, right? When I go into full agreement with, when I assume that is who I am and that's who I have to be, that is ego. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. Yeah, I just don't have anything to say.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's hard. And,
Well,
go ahead, DJ.
yeah, well, I mean, I think two things come up for me. One, I know, Jeremy, I know you're a movie guy for sure. So in a moment, I'm going to use that as a metaphor. But Dallas, I think you already asked the fundamental question. And the question's not to be answered, but to be explored. And that is, if I'm not my thoughts, who or what am I? Right. And if I can actually lean into that and allow myself, because we talk about mind blowing experiences, and that's actually right. I mean, our mind is expanding, our consciousness is expanding because we're recognizing, paradoxically, we're not just our mind. I have a mind, I have thoughts, but it's not who I am. And the movie metaphor is really simple. Like, Jeremy, that's so great that you're talking about, seeing your thoughts up on the screen. So when we go to a movie, before COVID, we used to be able to go to a theater, right?
Yeah.
We'll be back. We'll be back soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
When we're in the experience, it feels so real, right? We can almost feel the wetness if there's water, or feel the fire. But the reality is we don't get burned or we don't drown, right? So it's happening on the screen and we're witnessing it. But imagine it's like a movie. You feel so immersed in the movie. If the movie is a good movie, you lose yourself, right? You become the characters. You become that storyline. You become the experience of that. When the movie is over and the lights come on, you're back to being who you believed you were, or you take back your own personality. If we can start to look at the world as a movie and we're the projector projecting it onto a blank screen, then we can start to ask ourselves all kinds of interesting questions, right? What kind of movie do I want to create? My third book I'm working on right now uses movie as an acronym to how we consciously create our life. We are the projector 100% of the time, and we can begin to explore what we want to create on the screen rather than the other way around, which is we believe we are what's in the screen. So I think the movie is a perfect metaphor for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That definitely, I think it simplifies it and makes something very like abstract. It makes it kind of tangible or relatable. And I immediately related to that as kind of just, I'm projecting it onto the projector, and I'm always submersed in movies. I'm submersed in my own movie. Wow.
Right.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that, TJ. I love that.
Yeah. And when we assume roles, right? When we it's like being stuck in character.
Right.
Your
character.
Exactly. Right. It's exactly. And so one thing that's really helped me is recognizing that, especially with movies, because like we're movie people, right? So it's easy. But like when I look at myself like a character in a movie, because characters are held within a very strict framework, right? There's a construct, and this character is going to go on a very architectural journey, very predictable journey. And one of the things that I've realized just this last week, I was sitting on out on the porch talking to Mariah. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like really recognizing the patterns in my life. How the things I'm doing in 2020 are like the freaking exact same as 2012. The game's bigger, the stakes are higher, there's more people in play, and there's cooler shit. But like some of the things that I'm challenging are these patterns, this programming, where it's like showing up the same now as it was then, Right. And what helps me is like, okay, I was in that movie in 2012 for sure as Jeremy Miller, the guy that blah, 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 blah. But if I take that away, like in 2020, what's left? Right. And when I recognize that I'm in ego, that I'm pissed about something, and that that's pissed is not me, but rather ego, all of a sudden I'm way less pissed, and I see it and I say, okay, wow, like what? I wonder what's there. I wonder what's behind that. At some point in my life, something happened. I reacted in a certain way. It left a wound. I got something in return, and now I'm just continuing that behavior. is it serving me? And if not, how, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Gentlemen. Yeah.
But I think it's all so good in the and I know we're kind of bebopping, but really
That's okay.
we're on a very singular path here when we're talking about how we show up on social, how we show up in life, projections and ego. And one of the, just to continue on the same metaphor, and TJ, I don't know if this will land with you too, but when it comes to projections, one of the metaphors I really like is like, you guys remember like way back in the day, like before we had TVs in classrooms and, we had actual projectors.
Yeah.
And there were like the plastic slides and they'd go on there with the markers.
What were those called? Those slides that they would write on with Sharpie or whatever.
Yeah, with the Expo or whatever. The
Put a math problem on there.
Vis-a-vis markers, right? And so they put the slide on the thing and the light, shines through it and then projects, right? So say I draw the most perfect day on that slide. Boom. And I put it down. I turn on the projector. But on the lens of the projector, there's a smudge, right? No matter what slide is there, the way it shows up for everyone to see has this smudge, right? No matter what the slide is, no matter what the experience is, the lens through which I view it is how it appears in the world.
Right.
Right. And so for me, that really helps because when I see a situation and I'm like, man, that is fucked up. Or like, dude, I don't like that. The first thing I try and question is, how am I viewing this right now? What's on my lens? And if I clean the lens, if I look through a different lens, how will this exact same situation look different?
I love that.
Okay, Jeremy, you're going to love this. So as I mentioned, I'm writing my third book. It's actually almost finished, but we're going to take a while to publish it. But this is literally what the book opens with, and it's a quote from Byron Katie. It's actually a paragraph, but I feel like I should read it because what you just said is so wild that this is the very opening paragraph to the third book.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
Since the beginning of time, people have been trying to change the world so that they can be happy. This hasn't ever worked because it approaches the problem backwards. What we need is a way to change the projector mind rather than the projected. It's like when there's a piece of lint on a projector's lens. We think there is a flaw on the screen and we try to change this person and that person, whomever the flaw appears on next. But it's futile to try to change the projected images. Once we realize where the lint is, we can clear the lens itself.
Boom.
This is the end of suffering and the beginning of a little joy in paradise.
Oh, I like the invitation to paradise there at the end.
Hell yeah.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah.
How ironic that. Wow. Have you read this book, Jeremy?
I have not read this book yet. I can't. I'm dying to read the third
what is
installment.
the book called, TJ?
Conscious Creation.
Oh, okay. Well, I really want to read that as soon as possible,
Yeah,
but I'll
so-
be patient.
Well,
So the
I
trilogy.
think we could arrange for you guys to have an advanced copy.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God, I
Yeah.
feel so lucky.
I love
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah. And for the audience, that'll be the TJ Woodward trilogy of conscious being, conscious recovery, and conscious creation. And dude, TJ, just so you know, a bunch of our listeners have purchased Conscious Recovery.
A bunch.
Awesome.
Yeah, like a whole bunch, and a bunch of them are not even in recovery from drugs or alcohol. And and that's one of the things I also wanted to plug too on the show is that like the principles of conscious recovery are so fundamentally profound that whether it's an addiction to alcohol, whether it's an addiction to heroin, whether it's food, gambling,
Social
media, what
Opinions.
opinions,
That's a good
exactly,
one.
like everything the book, I love the book so much because of the fundamental truths about what we are and these layers that we kind of pile on as we go through life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so talk about synchronicity too, with like projections and stuff. That's great. I'd never read that.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. I just thought it was kind of wild. I thought, let me pull this up and read it, because you're saying exactly what she's saying. And that's just incredible. When we get these things, first as a concept, and then as more of an experience. And then at some point it's like, oh my gosh, I really just got this at a very deep level. And then that's where it becomes life changing, because once I understand that I'm projecting it 100% of the time, I can start to become curious about the lens and the lens and looking at what needs to be cleared there. And we actually can then end our suffering and step into paradise, as Byron Katie says. And that's just been my experience. And that's what I know is possible for all of us. And, I had a client once, Dallas, I think you'll appreciate this. I had a client once say to me, do you really walk around all the time just being open and loving and recognizing there's only oneness and everything is peace? And I said, yeah, I do walk around that way all the time, but some of the times I forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
I am walking around that way, but sometimes I'm not aware that that's the truth. Sometimes I'm believing my story.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I do love that. Well, I would say I have a lot to chew on from this episode.
Yeah.
and
Me too.
And I feel like the chewing doesn't stop.
That's
as
right.
well. And
I'm
looking forward to it.
One of the things that TJ, when TJ and I first started our work together, one of the things that really drew me to the work in the first place was living in the question.
Of course.
I have such analytical tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a piece of me that is so desperate to know.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way.
To know things. And, I think, when I was young, I didn't have a voice. I felt like I didn't have a voice. There were so many things that happened in childhood that told me it wasn't okay to have a voice. And it's very coincidental now that I get paid to talk.
Yeah.
But I've always been so heavy in the knowing, the answer, the analytical, the math. How does it add up? I'll just Google it. I'll look it up. I need the answer right now. And living in the question is saying, I'm just going to be curious about this. And, let me live in this question. Let me live, like TJ said, in the experiment rather than the answer. And it's the hardest practice for me, but also while I'm in it, that's when I feel the most joy. When I'm recognizing, like, oh wow, there's me thinking. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's ego running wild, Like even Mariah and I were arguing a couple weeks back, and we were both reading A New Earth at the same time. And we stopped and acknowledged the fact that we weren't fighting, our egos were. Mm-hmm. And it completely diffused the fight. And so living in that question and curiosity is where I feel at most peace, because I don't have to know. And it's okay for me in that space to not know. And without that pressure, without the weight of needing to know everything all the time, I'm free to move around. I'm free to think. I'm free to be and feel, And so that would be my invitation, is to really embody the question,
Challenge accepted. Yeah. Challenge accepted.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to applying that. I feel like knowing isn't enough, but the application is the experience. The application is like the uncertainty, and it makes sense because it doesn't make sense. I guess I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because, and this is maybe the way to sort of encapsulate it. I think, Jeremy, if you go back to A Course in Miracles, and one thing I want to say, I know we're toward the end here, But what if we started looking at 2020 through the lens of questioning rather than, oh, this has been a horrible year. I mean, I see pictures of like 2020 in dumpsters or like the worst year ever.
Yeah.
But what if we were to become curious? I wonder what all this is about, but like genuinely wonder what this is all about. And then become curious about, what are the infinite possibilities that can come from looking at it through the lens of curiosity. But, Jeremy, you talked about Course in Miracles. So I guess maybe my parting words, if you will, are what the very beginning of Course in Miracles, in the first lesson, if you do, I think it's like the workbook or the course itself, it invites you to look around and look at everything in the room and say, this glass is not real. This table is not real. My hand is not real. And it's like just being with that and just being in that question, that alone can really launch us into this new exploration of what's possible. Because the bottom line is nothing changes if nothing changes, right?
Right.
Karma is not an outside force. Karma is me believing the same thing about myself and the world and re-experiencing it over and over and over again. And so if I can start to clear that lens and become curious, maybe what we called reality isn't real at all.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's beautiful. How you doing, Dal?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good over here. It was funny because I was thinking when I was listening to a podcast as we were literally driving, as I was driving up here, Joe and Roxanne's podcast.
Oh, nice.
And Joe just had this like amazing take on the fires as he was evacuated personally from his home. And he just like hit this, like this is what Mother Nature does. Like everything burns down so that it could regrow and there could be new growth and like regeneration. And it's so beautiful. And it was just like so at peace with it. I was like, wow. And so that made me think too, of the whole 2020 thing where it's like, what is getting like burnt down to emerge? What is coming up? And just in that question of all of that. And I feel significantly more peaceful looking at it like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had.
That's beautiful, dude. That's it, right? And I think that's an amazing place to kind of bring the episode to a close.
Yeah.
I think, personally, I just want to crack off gratitude, TJ, for you for coming on the show and also for letting me and everybody else that's in our circle just constantly ask you for your insight and wisdom. I know our listeners are going to be really excited to finally see your name in the title of an episode.
Yeah. They've been waiting for this for a while.
Oh, well, I'm super grateful and so grateful for you guys. And it felt really cool to be an honorary bro for 1 hour.
That's right.
So I'm going to take that with me. So I think that, you guys are doing amazing work. And I just want to say thank you because, you're bringing some of these ideas maybe to an audience that some of this is really new for them. So I'm just so incredibly grateful for both of you.
Thank you, TJ.
Yeah, thank you so much, TJ. And just to, kind of piggyback off Jeremy, it's been a wild ride this past hour with our honorary bro, TJ Woodward, and we should definitely do this again.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to read the third book and excited to see you in the future too.
That's right.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right, TJ. Thank you, my friend.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
All right, have a good night, TJ. Fuck, bro.
Yeah, dude. So there's a lot to process here. And I'm a little more used to it because
dude, you've dealt with that way better than I did.
Well, here's the thing, Dal, and I think this is good for the audience too. And we're going to break this up into two parts. But I work with TJ. I do all of Conscious Recovery's marketing, and and so what that really means is I get to hang out with TJ Woodward all the time and ask him all these questions I have about life. And so I'm a little bit more accustomed to like questioning things like this, but I'm really glad that this episode happened because it brought you into what exactly I have been in.
Of course.
For, since really the beginning of COVID, where, it was just this really like we all kind of been teasing this whole, conversation. It's like, I was on a path of betterment and personal development, quitting my full-time job and trying to do all this other stuff. And a lot of that was really satisfying for the ego.
Of course.
And there was also a deeper part of myself that it wasn't really, that I hadn't really tapped into. And it's really coincidental to me that when COVID hits and all this crazy shit starts happening, the money dries up, my health insurance is gone, I can barely afford my medication. Like, I went from so much money to like no money at all, and then back up. But during that whole ebb and flow, financially, emotionally, physically, professionally, I was doing this really deep work, reading A New Earth from Eckhart Tolle, reading A Course in Miracles, which I'm only like 1-2 chapters in, and this book is fucking nuts, dude. But it's like questioning who and what I am and why. It is crazy, dude. It's crazy. And I don't want to even say I'm like further now than I was 3 months ago, because that's really not what it is. And that's really hard for me, because I look at the finish line.
Right.
I want to get somewhere. I want to get to the next thing. I want the next thing so that I can go to the next thing and go to the next thing, And what I'm just now learning at 34 years old is that and a lot of this stems from the addict in me and my addiction and things, is that I trained my brain to live very short term.
Right.
And I'm really just now starting to understand that the way I perceive time, the way I look at my life, and the way I go from one thing to the next is really inherently flawed. And what I'm trying to open myself up to is not just the long term of between now and when I die, because I don't know when I'm going to die, but between now and the eternal. And what am I here to do is a question that I can't answer with action.
Right.
Right. It's like, I have been so stuck on my purpose being centered around what I'm here to do, not who I'm here to be. And that's what I'm really trying to tap into, is like, who am I here to fucking be, dude? Because who I'm here to be, that is what spans eternal, right? An action is fleeting. It's from here to the next, right?
Yeah.
But who I am, who I was in this world, that lasts,
It does last. Yeah. It's like your legacy.
Yeah.
But like your legacy with yourself.
With me.
Without the ego.
Yeah. And what it comes down to, Dal, is love.
Mm-hmm.
And love is this weird thing, and this is another episode, dude.
Whole nother episode.
But remember Interstellar?
Yeah.
How love was
God,
the thing?
I love that movie. That connected everything.
Yeah, dude. Through dimensions, time, and space.
Five.
Fifth, right? Is love, dude. It spans everything.
Yeah, it does.
And when I think about Steve Brookie, dude, it's not what he did.
It's who he was.
It's who he was.
Yeah.
And here we are talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I've been really trying to tap into, because I'm such a doer, and I got to zip and zoom, and I got to fucking build this website, and I got to fucking do this. And and it's like, no, man, like, fuck that, dude. Like, and so focusing on the be is really the essential self. Focusing on the do is ego. And ego is very important. It's not to be ignored or discounted. It plays a role.
For sure.
And it's fucking important, I think for me, my practice right now is really trying to give all parts of myself, ego, my essential nature, equal attention. Not to focus too heavy on one or the other. And so with ego, that's action. And I want my actions to align with and propel further who I am in this world.
Right.
And that's,
I like that.
That's the practice, man. It's fucking deep.
That's the practice, dude, and that's the challenge, and that's the invitation, and that is the question.
Yeah, dude.
All at the same time.
Yeah, dude.
I know, it's very strange. Like, yeah, I guess, yeah, it was. I'm just like very engulfed in the topics that were brought up.
Yeah.
You know, and you having more experience of being engulfed in these topics, maybe it felt more normal.
Yeah.
Or just more. Not as new.
Yeah.
For me, it's like this very, and it's weird too because it's also not new.
Right.
Right? Like it's new for me. It's newer, but it's also not that new.
You've known it.
Right. I've known it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just maybe just the mindset I brought to that I'm in today. You know, I just feel very everything we talked about, like I just wanted to like go to my room and like sit with that.
Yeah, right.
For like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And digest it.
Yep.
And so I had to like compartmentalize it and be like, acknowledge like, okay, that was fucking dope.
Yeah.
I need to get back to that one later.
Yeah.
But for now, you're a podcaster on this show.
Yeah.
And like, you should speak.
You got to play host.
But you have nothing to say.
Sure.
Because you haven't compartmentalized it yet.
Right. And not to get too wild here.
Get wild.
But that piece of you that needs to speak is ego.
I know.
And one of the
I'm
things,
observing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Not saying anything on our show.
Right. And dude, and the weirdest thing is that like we'll be live on Facebook, right? Me and TJ and
he just bombs you.
And both of them, dude. I'm getting tag teamed with fucking spirit
as you're
bombs.
Facilitating the flow of everything.
Yeah, and there's been a few where I'm like, hold on, guys, I just got to be with that for a minute. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard for me to allow dead air, to allow silence live on the internet, dude.
Mm-hmm. As the facilitator of the air.
But that piece of me that says, Jeremy, you need to fill the air is ego. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because we got, somebody emailed TJ and they saw one of our talks from months ago and talked about how much it helped. And they said they appreciated that we took time to process. Yeah. Because it made us seem real, you know?
Well, that's authentic and that's genuine. Yeah. That's how we work.
But it's so funny because it's so hard for me, you know? Mm-hmm. And, but remember like during COVID, dude, like, I would tell you and Mariah, and I'm sure even on the air, like as part of my takeaways and stuff, like, dude, there were days where I would spend 2 hours just sitting there, you know, in the silence.
I remember those days.
Yeah. Dude, I lived in a very beautiful fucking place, man. I still do, but like, it was just
different.
It was different. Yeah. We're out in the woods, kind of. I got this big open clearing. I'm surrounded by redwoods, and there's so much to learn from trees.
That's the most Santa Cruz shit you've ever said.
It's true though, dude.
It is true.
It's true.
It is true.
It's true because, and we'll get to the metaphor, but like I'd be sitting there and I would just sit and let all this play out in my head. Watch my thoughts, you know, watch them happen and listen to Eckhart Tolle. Dude, you know a great place to start for you and the audience? He did this podcast series with Oprah. Now, Oprah is a super annoying host, which I know sounds very paradoxical because she's like the number one host in the world or whatever. But like, dude, she interrupts him all the time, and that drives me bonkers. Mm-hmm. When Eckhart's on your show, you shut the fuck up and listen. You know what I mean? But anyways, they go through each chapter of A New Earth and talk about it. It is incredible. And they have people that like write in and call in and they're like, all right, Eckhart, but like, what about this? And you hear him just pause and reply. And it is so profound and it helps. So I recommend that. Dive into that, dude.
Yeah, I'll have to take a dive into that, bro. Yeah,
man.
I'm super grateful for this this episode, dude.
Me too, man.
You know, I'm so glad we kind of just were like, let's just see where it goes type of thing.
Dude.
And it's funny because I bet if we looked back to our other episodes, we brought up everything we meant to.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
I think so.
Like I would be, you know, if you're some crazy audience member and want to like listen to all our episodes and email us every time we like drop TJ Woodward
and
the topic that it was about.
Yeah, we'll give you $20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna be like, yeah, thank that. We'd be appreciative.
I just want to see if someone does it.
Yeah,
you know?
$20 to do it. It's yours, but only one person gets to do it.
That's right. And it's the first person that writes us with the answer that gets the 20.
I guess the 20, the fucking Andrew fucking Jackson.
Yeah, Andrew Jackson.
Who's on the 20?
Andrew Jackson.
First person to write in who's on the 20 gets a 5.
Don't Google it.
I know 5. Who's on 5? Lincoln, bro.
Lincoln?
Yeah, Abe.
I don't look at cash enough.
Honest Abe, dude. You're broke. No, I'm just kidding. Like, I know who's on the quarter.
You got to have cash to look at it, Miller.
Yeah. Who's on the quarter?
Fucking,
I don't think anybody is. It's all the states.
oh, yeah, that's right.
They're like designs. They're like landscapes.
I don't look at money, dude. I'm just swiping that credit card, bro.
Yeah, you know it's on the back of that Amex.
I sure do, dude. Fuck. Anyways.
Well, to the audience, sorry about all that. No, I'm just kidding. No. Sorry, but also you're welcome. And also, that was fun.
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun exploring that with you, Dal. And
Likewise.
I like,
This is when we needed video.
yeah.
We need
for
video.
Sure, dude. I
dude.
needed your face.
If you guys
dude.
saw me, like I don't even know what I looked like. But if I looked 10% of what I felt like, it's funny.
I mean, I started cracking up. I had to move the mic, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, Dal's fucking so spun right now. But look, I want to plug TJ. Listen,
Yeah,
if you're
let's do
out
that.
there and you want more of that, the best thing you can do is follow TJ on social media. Okay, so he's TJ Woodward on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow Conscious Recovery. But we're doing Facebook Lives all the time with like spiritual people and addiction people too, you know. If you go to wholehearted.org, you can do like digital courses with TJ Woodward, like video stuff, e-course type stuff. They're amazing courses. We literally spent an entire year building these courses. You'll see yours truly in some of the videos.
Oh,
yeah, that's right. And right now we cut the price by like 60 or 70% because of COVID.
Yeah, what a steal then. Get on that, guys.
I think you can get it for like $50. Usually we charge like $2.99.
So $50 to just explore everything with TJ is a great price.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
do
and
that.
I mean, and if you don't have the funds but you really want to do it, send me a DM, okay? Because I run that shit. So, yeah.
Ego
says Jeremy runs that shit. Essential Self says hit me up and I might give it to you for free.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Also, get his book. Conscious Being is an incredible book. He doesn't like plugging that book.
Really?
Yeah, well, he's just so proud of Conscious Recovery.
For sure.
But dude, Conscious Being is fucking fire.
It's probably like the start. It's like
It
the
is.
beginning.
It is. It's step
And
one.
he's
dude.
probably like evolved so much since
Yeah.
then. So he's like, it's old Tej. You
Yeah,
know?
and it's really funny because he'll often say like I would have wrote that differently now and blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, but the way it is perfect.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that.
Yeah. But anyways, you guys, so Dow's going on vacation
I am.
for his anniversary or sober birthday.
Yeah.
And so maybe when you get back, we'll do something on that. Kind of swing back to recovery a little bit. And I'm really curious about feedback for this
Yeah,
episode.
me too.
I really loved all the feedback on that 2020 reframe one, man. We got tons of DMs and shit.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just so relatable.
Yeah.
You know, like you couldn't listen to that episode and be like, what the fuck are those guys talking about? You know?
That's for sure, dude.
Like, you couldn't miss that.
No.
It was so just in your face.
Yeah, we're all in it, you know.
We're all in the thick of it.
thick, dude.
But now we know, why is it happening? Who knows? Question it. Doesn't have to be all that bad.
That's right. That's right, you guys. Well, hey, we're grateful for you. Check out our website if you want, betterment-bros.com. If you've got a situation, listen, we haven't gotten an email in months.
Long time.
It's a little weird, Dallas, that the world is in fucking crisis, and that's when we stop getting emails.
I know. I wonder if it's because people are like, oh, they're probably getting so many of these.
But really, we're not getting any.
getting none.
None, dude. So email us.
Yeah, email us. Give us something to talk about.
Yeah.
To explore. Let us explore it with you.
Yeah.
That's what we're here. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, and if you want, you can get on the air. We've got a couple guests that want to come and be in the studio. So
Physically.
physically. They're going to travel out to the studio to join us, and we're fucking pumped.
We're super pumped. That fuels the fire.
Yeah. So if you want to call in, you want to email us at bettermentbros@gmail.com. If you want to call us, you could DM us or email us and say, hey, I want to be on the show.
Yeah, we'll coordinate it.
Yeah, we'll get you on the show. No problem. That's it, right?
I think that's it. Yeah, dude. Yeah, go check out TJ Woodward and Jeremy and us and the Betterment Bros and Spiritual AF, Joe and Roxanne. They just put out a new episode, and they've been going through a lot. Go check them out, man.
Please check out Spiritual AF, the Spiritual AF or whatever podcast. It's our good friends, Roxanne and Joe. These are two of my favorite fucking people on planet Earth, dude. I have so much love for them. And they've been on hiatus from their podcast, but they put an episode out today.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful, man. And as I was editing it, I was like, man, I had tears in my eyes, dude. I was so choked up.
Yeah.
And so check out their podcast, dude. They basically bring a playful and profound perspective to spirituality.
Dude, they do.
And it is so fun and so deep, dude. And we'll get on their show together.
Yeah, that'd be fun, dude. That'd be fun. I just want to see Joe, and I haven't seen him.
I know. Dude, the last time I saw him, it was months ago, dude.
Yeah, dude. Just missing people. I'm missing them, you know?
Me too, man. Me too.
But it'll all be over soon, guys.
We're almost there, guys.
We're almost there. Just hold on tight.
We'll get there together, dude.
That's it. And then we could talk about how it is then.
Yeah, dude. Amen. Well, thank you guys so much, Dal. Thank you. TJ, you're the man, dude. Thank you.
TJ, you are the man. You are the bro, the honorary bro.
The honorary bro, dude.
God, that just has a good ring to it.
And I'm sorry, I know we're just rambling, but I really wanted him to do his impression of us because he does it all the time.
It's probably so good.
Funny. He's like, hey, bro, what's up, bro? Yeah, bro. You got problems, bro? Yeah, I got you, bro. Like, you know, and it's just like, dude, I can't
That's
really.
Just who we are, man.
I can't rebuttal because it's so accurate.
Yeah, we're not that.
I know.
Bro.
Like, that's our role, dude. Anyway, you guys have a good week. Dal, have a good vacation.
Thank you, bro.
And we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next week. I'm Jeremy Miller.
I'm Dallas Terrell.
Take it easy.